Chain smoke your problems away. Smoke Pit Fairy Tales, Part 4, Chapter 2, Luna Trap. Thatch leaned on the bulkhead leading towards the galley. He'd been standing in the same spot for what seemed like weeks. The intensity of boredom was at the point where he stared at the matte gray metal pipes running along the ceiling for fun. Having heard them all before, the conversations of the other Marines in line weren't entertaining to him. Some of them played games or told riddles. They'd ask, "What's behind the green glass door?" or try to find the answer to the question of black magic. Some would tell stories from back home, and others, if they'd been to sea before, would talk of the war they were fighting and the ports that they've been to. They spent at least an hour waiting in line before every meal, every single day. Thatch usually brought a book or played games on his phone, but he'd forgotten both in his rack. The line inched along the narrow passageway. The Marines squeezed themselves along the wall when others walked through to make space.
Ugh. This is our 9th float, right?
Akon asked Thatch.
I think so, but it's hard to keep up.
My dad was telling me that back when they did these on Earth, they were deployed for 7 months at a time.
Thatch winced.
Every time?
That's what he said.
Yeah, fuck that. We did that like what? Twice?
Yeah.
I'm good with the 3-month rotations with the occasional extensions because we're skirmishing again.
Thatch thought about his earlier deployment that was 6 months long, then turned his attention back to Akon.
Why would they be out there for that long a time?
Well, they were on Earth on pretty much a giant boat that took them a couple of months to circle the planet. Not a ship that could get across the solar system in a hurry.
I guess that makes sense.
The line moved and Thatch took one step forward.
Hey, you guys doing anything this afternoon?
I'm going to have my squad do some gun drills in the well deck for a bit, but that's all I got planned. You?
Weapons maintenance and a class on breaching.
Oh, I fucking hate breaching.
We all do.
They eventually snailed to the front of the line. The sailor behind the glass slung some green peas that were already starting to turn brown, a bit of noodles, and something resembling meat onto a tray. Then handed it to Thatch.
Thanks.
Thatch made his way to the table Stockton and McKenzie were sitting at. They greeted each other and waited for Akon.
We've only been underway for a week.
McKenzie scowled at his food.
Why is the food already brown?
Because, George, we're filthy enlisted swine and don't rate the good food.
Stockton started. McKenzie kept eating.
Fuckers. Remember last float when Chuck was on duty up in the officers' mess and brought us down real food every once in a while?
The rest of the group nodded.
Should have went to college. You could be an officer now and not have to deal with lines or bad food.
I did go to college. Then I fucking enlisted anyway because...
Because you're a dumbass?
Yup.
McKenzie grumbled.
Well then, get a commission and quit bitching about it.
Fuck that noise. Officers don't do shit. They're called officers because they spend all their fucking time in an office. I'm gonna do my time and get out. Then in 40 years, I'll be able to tell my grandkids that I did something instead of having to tell them I sent other people to do it for me.
Akon nodded.
I get you on that. That and most officers are worthless. Lieutenants, for the most part, aren't much more than extra baggage. Captains know what they're doing, but only come out for missions half the time. The rest are paper pushers.
Yeah.
Thatch agreed. He mocked admiration with his hands in the air.
Ooh, you can plan an assault from the ops center. I'm so scared. We're trained well enough to do this on our own. I understand the need for people to plan because planning is an important step, but the chiefs do most of the planning and the officers just sign off on it. There's no reason for them to have life so much better than we do.
The staterooms, the food, the pay, the general privilege of being able to go out on liberty alone. Why don't they have to live in the barracks?
Because they're the brains. They can get more of us. You and I are just numbers.
Thatch was about to finish with what he only loosely defined as food.
Nah, fuck him either way. He wants to smoke.
The group all said aye and stood up. They dropped the trays in the scullery, then walked through the passageways out through the hangar to the smoke deck. They pressed through the heavy metal hatches into the meters-wide area between butt cans and looked out of the porthole at the stars. Stockton pulled a cigarette out of her pack.
Do we know where we're heading?
McKenzie looked through the glass towards the rear of the ship.
I can still see the moon.
Which one?
Phobos.
Stockton lit her smoke. Thatch followed suit.
I think we're going to one of the colonies at Lagrange Point 4 or 5 first.
Is that Fragrance Harbor in Lion City or Yukio and Kota Kinabalu?
McKenzie wondered aloud. The gears in Akon's head turned.
I don't think the Yukio and Kota Kinabalu colonies are paired together.
Why are those paired together in the first place?
I think it has something to do with keeping the mirrors pointed at the sun.
That sounds about right.
Thatch finished his cigarette and tossed it in the butt can.
Hey, where's Chuck at? I ain't seen him since this morning.
He's sick in his rack. I gave him some meds and told him to sleep it off.
You think maybe a squad leader needed to know that?
I'm telling you now, aren't I?
Thatch rolled his eyes.
All right, well, I'll be down to check on him in a bit. I'm headed back to medical. I gotta help one of 3rd Platoon's corpsmen unfuck his med bag.
Stockton waved herself off and disappeared into the ship. Thatch headed back to the berthing. The racks were stacked 4 tall, in rows, down the room. On either end sat a mounted television, a set of plastic couches, and a table and chairs just large enough for 3 or 4 people to play cards. Thatch walked over to Chuck's rack and slowly pulled back the curtain to find him sound asleep. Thatch closed it back up and opened his rack. He put his phone in his breast pocket, grabbed his book, and flipped to the page where he left off. Thatch didn't get 2 pages into reading before the 1MC screamed.
Set trap alert 120. Set trap alert 120.
Thatch groaned and threw his book back on his bed. He turned around the corner to the next set of racks looking for Capulet.
Hey, trap 120, make sure everyone's got their shit. Meet you in the hangar when they call 60.
Aye, Sergeant.
Capulet turned to the Marines. Thatch maneuvered as fast as he could through the passageways towards the company office. He slid down the first ladder well, then sprinted down the passageway. Thankfully, there weren't more than a few sailors hanging around. Then he climbed up the last few ladders, hooked around the gym, and stopped outside the company office's door. The other squad leaders and platoon sergeants were already waiting. A few minutes later, the platoon commanders arrived. The XO, first sergeant, and company gunnery sergeant were already inside.
We're just waiting on the captain,
Duke told the sergeants. Capulet rallied the Marines of first squad, and then led them to the hangar bay. The Marines had dropped their regular uniforms and donned spacesuits. The suits weren't as clunky as the ones worn by astronauts in the previous century. They were tighter around the body, but loose enough to move and fight in, almost resembling flight suits worn inside Mars's atmosphere. They were dark gray with black components, trim, and gear for holding ammunition and tools. On the left breast sat an embroidered eagle globe and anchor. Their boots rose to the bottom of their calves. Inside the sole was a thin magnet designed to hold them to the deck when they weren't inside the gravity cylinder. Their backpacks were a similar color, but built to carry ammunition and equipment. Hours worth of oxygen, a gallon of water which had a tube running to the helmet, a small survival kit in case a Marine found himself stuck in space alone, communication equipment so the Marines in a squad could talk to each other, and a small computer to run the display in the helmet. Their helmets were comprised of a couple of different components. The mask secured to the chin and wrapped around the back of the Marine's head. There was a vent for the air hose on either side of the mask. It would be attached on whichever side wasn't the Marine's shooting arm. However, the lens was made from cheap glass and, while durable, would show the heads-up display on the front of the mask. It wasn't very good for staying hidden while using the night vision. Over the mask sat the actual helmet. It was thin and light. There wasn't much that could be done if someone was shot in the head. It was more for shrapnel and space junk. It had a full brim that the top of the mask's bubble locked into. The shroud on the back would lock into the extensions of the mouthpiece. Capulet checked to make sure everyone in the squad was ready to fight. He pulled in every strap, pouch, and hook.
Hey, Doc Stockton.
Capulet called.
Yeah, what's up?
You got your shit?
Stockton gave Capulet a thumbs up. As the squad corpsman, she had a different rig than the rest of the group. As far as medical supplies went, the Marines didn't have much more supplies than it would take to quickly fix a large hole in their suits and tourniquets. They had a different getup for operations not in vacuum, but out in space, there weren't too many immediate options. The docs would have to do most of the grunt work on those matters. After everyone in their gear was accounted for, the Marines sat down and leaned on their packs while they waited for the squad leaders and officers to make it to the hangar. First Platoon was currently the team on standby for trap. The rest of the company was still about the ship, taking care of their own business. Most of the platoon went to sleep. That's the one thing that they were all good at, sleeping anywhere.
Set trap alert 30. Set trap alert 30.
The 1MC blared.
Shit. All right, everyone, get your shit.
Capulet barked at the platoon. He led them up out of the hangar, up to the ramp leading to the launch deck. McKenzie shuffled up to Capulet.
They went straight from 120 to 30. Must be the real thing.
Seems that way. I don't think we were that close to anything, though. We just left Mars.
Maybe it's on an asteroid.
That's stupid. We wouldn't be needed for that.
McKenzie contemplated their mission. They didn't have details yet, but if they were calling trap, then there was a downed pilot somewhere on a surface.
How close are we to Earth? Might be somewhere on Luna.
Capulet was a bit confused.
Were we going towards Earth?
McKenzie shrugged.
I don't know. Actually, where is Earth right now? Wouldn't we have to go through Russian territory to get there?
Capulet shook his head.
No idea. Maybe.
He thought about it for another few seconds.
Not if we went up over the sun and hooked back down. But even then, I wouldn't think that we were the closest ship available.
We'll find out when Thatch and Staff Sergeant get back.
Hey, school circle on me.
Duke barked from the top of the ramp. First Platoon hustled up and stood around the platoon sergeant. The squad leaders and platoon commander filled in from the back.
All right, so check it out.
Duke held up a large photo of a clean-shaven, strong-jawed man in his 30s for the Marines to see.
This is Lieutenant Junior Grade Fred Rudel.
He handed the photo to the closest Marine. They passed it around to get a good look at his face.
He is a Griffin pilot down near the Fra Mau crater of Luda. Him and his wingman, who is currently MIA, are pilots of VFA 105. Enemy activity in the area is unknown, but he didn't shoot himself down. This will be the same as what we've trained for. Unless you're one of the older guys, then this is nothing new. Find the pilot, find the bird, destroy the computer and memory banks if the pilot hasn't already done it. All right?
Duke gave them the arm signal to line up.
Fall in, let's load up.
The Marines all fell into a line and waited by the hatch for a crew chief to grab them, then donned their helmets and turned on the oxygen. They got pulled up to the top of the ramp. The hatch behind them closed, and the air hissed out through the vents. A green light lit up next to the hatch on the far side of the room. The door slid open, and a crew chief from the bird signaled them to follow. They went out and packed into the Star Knights. The CT-46 Star Knight was a quad-engine troop transport. Most Marines thought it looked like a metal frog strapped to rocket engines. Comfortably, it could fit a little less than a squad. In practice, a squad and a half fit. Most Marines on their first ride wondered who the hell exactly built the damn bird so small, or why the Marine Corps implemented something in a manner it wasn't intended for. The birds lifted off the flight deck, hovered out to a few hundred meters away from the ship, adjusted their trajectory towards the Earth's moon, and throttled up their engines to full speed. The bottomless shard quickly vanished behind them as they raced towards Luna. For the next 2.5 hours, most of the Marines slept. A few of them shot the shit, and Rudel's photo was passed around so they could burn the image of his face into their mind. The Earth and Luna soon started to grow in their vision. The pilot sent a signal to Duke.
5 minutes, wake up!
Duke called over the platoon's comlink. Thatch was still dreaming with his head leaned back. Akan slapped his arm to shake Thatch out of it.
What?
Akan lifted her hand and showed him 5 fingers. Thatch nodded during a yawn.
Got it.
He shook his head to wake himself up and put his eyes on the squad to check that everyone was ready. The Star Knights flew down close to the surface of the moon and flew a straight path until they found the wreckage of the Griffin. It was half buried in a crater. Most of its fuselage was missing. Metal was thrown about the surface in the dust. Its head had been torn clean off, and the only full limb it had was the one holding its main weapon. Thatch looked over at Akan.
Chuck's gonna be mad he missed this one. He loves those mechs.
Akan looked at Thatch, confused. Through the bubble, only one's eyes could really be seen due to a seal that covered the mouth and nose.
Who's Chuck?
Corporal Royce.
The Knights landed a couple hundred meters away from the wreck. As soon as the birds hit the deck, the rear hatch opened and the Marines jumped out of the back and formed a circle facing out away from the Knights to make sure if there was an enemy around, there was a barrel pointed in their direction. The Knights took back off and Duke ordered.
All right, let's go.
First platoon formed a column and moved towards the wreckage. They snaked around the fallen parts, making sure not to step on or climb any of the metal fragments. When the platoon reached the hull of the Griffin, Duke ordered over.
First and third squad, set up a perimeter. Second squad, start placing the charges as you look for Rudel.
Thatch and Yorick, third squad sergeant, took their teams and placed them facing out around the fallen mech. There weren't any signs of the enemy, only the powdery white dust and scattered rocks of Luna. Akan split up her squad. 2 of her fire teams started placing explosives in the mech's cockpit, magazines, and computers. She sent the others to sweep for Rudel. Akan climbed up the side of the mech and fell back into the cockpit, flipping a few switches on the dash. Akan wasn't trained to pilot the Griffin, or any mech for that matter, but everyone on the trap team was trained on how to destroy anything that may end up being useful to the enemy. She reached above her head and yanked forward a red and black striped cord. She pulled out the Griffin's flight recorder box and made her way back out. Akan looked to her team leaders.
Corporal Dorchester.
Yes, Sergeant.
She handed him the recorder box.
Put this in my pack.
She turned around and Dorchester followed the order.
Sergeant O'Con.
Her radio buzzed. The display on her helmet read, First Fire Team, Corporal Schecter.
What you got?
We found the pilot.
Where are you?
Stand by.
A moment later, Schecter's location popped up on Akan's HUD. She looked back to Dorchester.
Finish up with the charges.
Aye, Sergeant.
Akan followed the path illuminated in her HUD. She found her fire team circled around Lieutenant Rudel. They were trying to hold him up to sit. Akan kneeled down by Rudel.
Can you hear me, sir?
She could only see his eyes through his helmet. Pilot suits were similar to the Marines, but not identical. Rudel shook his head and knocked on his helmet. Akan opened the palm of her left hand and placed it on top of Rudel's helmet.
Can you hear me now?
Rudel put his hand on her head in a similar fashion.
Yes, you?
U.S. military spacesuits were equipped with what was called the haptic system. It used small vibrations, barely noticeable to human skin, to send information through the left hand of a spacesuit into the helmet. The computer in the helmet would then translate the vibrations into sounds, acting as a backup close-range communication device for when the radios malfunctioned.
I can hear you, sir. Can you walk?
I think My leg's broken.
All right, sir, just stay put. We've almost got you out of here.
She switched back to her platoon frequency and called in her position. When the explosives were all placed on the Griffin, the platoon circled around Akon's position, and Duke called in the birds. The Star Knights silently screamed down from the sky, blowing dust in all directions as they settled on the surface. Duke stood up from kneeling and led the platoon through the cloud onto the birds. Once they took off towards the stars, Akon gave the thumbs up to Dorchester, who pushed in the detonator. Half of the Griffin exploded. There was a series of bright flashes, then nothing.
Christchurch, Stockton, get over here.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Thanks for listening to another chapter of Chain Smoke Your Problems Away. What is this one? Chapter 2, Luna Trap. I'd like to thank the cast, which is going to be Chuck LaVoki as the narrator, Diane Spencer as Akon, Eric Pickle as Duke, Amy Bedell as Stockton, Travis Weidemann as McKenzie, Weidemann, I think it was, Steve Agostine as Capulet, Curtis C. Coomber as Rudel, Tyler Branch as Dorchester and Schecter, and Matt Kupkicevicius as the 1MC. I'd like to thank them, and I'd like to thank you for listening. I'd also like to thank everyone over on Patreon. They get these chapters as I get done with them, as to where they're on the, I guess, schedule over here on the tube. And then I'd also like to thank everyone who's gotten a war chest, which is the first 6 of these books in a custom painted. I don't know why I'm saying this wrong. I say this fucking 14,000 fucking times. I haven't said this 14 fucking thousand times. I've said it a lot though. I got the box set for that. If you don't want to wait for me to read these, you can just go get these books off Amazon. But if you want to get like the super duper fucking cool thing, I got this thing. It's called the War Chest. I'm sure I've talked your ear off about it, but it's either the first 6 books of this fucking series in a custom painted 50 cal ammo can with stickers and patches, or a patch, and cards and shit. Or, you know, the War Chest Mark II is pretty much the same thing, but the last 6 books in the war creates the whole shebang. So thank you to everybody that's got that. We're not quite keeping the lights on with that, but it is good beer money. I would like for it to keep the lights on one day with that. But speaking of that, fucking, we hit a fucking mile marker over here on YouTube, man. Fucking, I don't get like ads yet, or if you're seeing ads, I'm not getting paid for them. I don't know how YouTube works with that, but I did hit the thing where like YouTube memberships can start being a thing. I'm not quite sure how that works. I think that's like, I don't know, you give it $1 or $3 a month, and then like you get to watch the chapters early. I don't know. I'm gonna try to figure that out. But that'll be a thing. And then I'm sorry. People on Patreon and people who've gotten war chest, their names also go in the credits at the end. And I'll make a YouTube membership thing for that too. So if you want to be a YouTube member, I don't know what the fuck that is. Like I just got like the email the other day. Yeah, no. I guess you'll get your name in the credits, and then also I think you get to watch the videos earlier. I'll set it up to where like, so you know how I'll actually do this recording and edit this video that you're watching now on Monday or Tuesday, and you know it won't come out until Wednesday at 6, you know, Eastern Standard Time. I think if I set it up right, if you're a YouTube member, you can watch it as soon as it gets uploaded. We'll see. This is the first video I'm uploading since, I don't know, that became a thing. So we'll find that out more in the future. Though, if it does become a thing and people start doing that, then I'll start doing these a little bit earlier. And by that, I mean, like, instead of like Tuesday afternoon, I'll make a point to have these done on like, I don't know, maybe Sunday. I'd like to, maybe Monday. I'd like to make that like, if that became a thing, I'd like to push that a little bit to the left, but I also like replying to the comments from like last week, so I don't know how we'd figure that out yet. However, I guess we got time to work on that. I mean, we got time to work on a lot of things. Kind of like, I have a goal I set for myself. So this book, Chain Smoke Your Problems Away, it's, you know, 40 fucking chapters long, and it's, you know, a thick guy, right? This is like 2.5 the length. This is like 2.5 the length of the 3rd book, and we're gonna be going through it, doing the audiobook here, doing the chapter-sodes here until June, I think. June 2025, and we're gonna do a chapter a week. Like, nothing's changing about that. But I was talking to Chuck about something I wanted to do with that, where if by the time the last chapter-sode of book 4, the book we're on now, hits YouTube, if we have 10,000 followers by then, when we do book 6, not book 5, but book 6, I'll set that up to where we get a chapter on YouTube over here every day, like just like bang, 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 knock them the fuck out. That's a big long-term goal. That'd be nice to do. We'll see where the future goes, because like there's no guarantee that, you know, I'm ever gonna get another follower, or that even people are gonna watch this. It's just like a nice thing that happens, you know. And thank you for being here, YouTubers. But But yeah, I was talking to Chuck about that, and he says it's a little unfair because I'm making promises to future followers, but, you know, like saying, hey, guys that aren't here yet, you know, hey, come jump on board and take this fucking ride. I don't know. My brain's kind of all over the place right now. What are your thoughts on that, I guess is what I'm asking, because, like, that would put a lot of... I don't want to say to put a lot of footwork on your end, because like it'd be kind of like a double-edged thing, double-fried thing. I guess we'd have to be partners in this. It'd make it more communal, like a venereal disease. But then again, word about my books and art and works only ever travels orally anyway. So I guess that, you know, y'all watching this are my little cold sores. Cold sores. You got it from someone else's lips. I don't know. I know we're like way off topic. I also... God, I am like really hanging in there by a thread right now. A lot going on in my head. Not you guys stuff, but you know, I just kind of want to vent a little bit because like my wife is sick right now. Hopefully nothing serious, but we're doing that thing where it's like she's fucking racked out on the couch watching whatever. She's not actually watching TV. The TV's on and she's snoring and drooling. And that's going to be me in a few days, and I have to not pass out until she gets better so we're not both sick at the same time because fucking yay. But anyway, going back to spreading the word about the books thing, right? It's been like one by one, follower by follower, like by fucking like. I haven't had any big mass fucking appeal anywhere, really. I mean, I had a few things here and there, like Luke Lamana fucking, you know, hooked me up on wartime stories, helped get the word out about that a little bit, but that's like not like a constant fucking thing that's always happening. That's more of the outlier than the rule. So I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I'm going at, man. Like I have like 4 brain cells left and they're fucking like fighting fucking dominance right now. Shit. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna fucking go answer some shit from last week before the brain turns off. I think that seems like a good fuck. Oh, there's not a whole lot of fucking comments on that last video, but it did get some good fucking viewers, so like maybe we're starting to fucking get somewhere, you know? Not just screaming into the void. All right, who said what? Fucking John Bouvet said, I like how the chapter intro riffs change with each books. It's a cool progression. I had to watch like every episode of Wartime Stories over because I couldn't remember the name of this series. The series is called Smoke But Fairy Tales. It's in the title. And yeah, the chapter riffs changing, you know, with each book. Yeah, no. That's I don't know. I thought that would be fun. Thanks for picking up on it. I'm glad you're digging it. I try to make them like a little bit like each book has its own riff, but like the riff's a little bit different from chapter to chapter. You know, like maybe different instruments or keyboards or tempo or fucking whatever. But yeah, you know what I mean. All right, Kent Atwood, interesting change of pace, which was totally unexpected, by the way. I like the way the new characters are being introduced and how lots of possibilities are hinted at. I look forward to seeing how you're going to bring Hank and Doc into the mix. Once again, thanks for sharing. Thanks for listening, Kent Atwood. No spoilers, but yeah, buckle up. Like, we're going to have a ride the next few books. Dom the Builder can't wait to learn any pros and cons of Thatch being a hybrid. Well, one of the pros of Thatch being a hybrid is his dong is green. Yeah. The con, though, is that he sticks it in crazy. All right. Hey, thanks for checking out this chapter. So thanks for listening. I will let you go. Here are your bloopers. Also, fucking, if you get a war chest, I'll put a pen in the map for you. And then get your own video that becomes a YouTube short or whatever. And name in the comments and all that good fun shit. Okay, I will catch you next week. All right. I hope. All right. Bye.
Test! Testicles.
Test. Microphone test. How's that? That was the dog. But do we hear the lawnmower?
Chapter 2, Luna Trap. I am Capulet. Capulet? Is he French? Oui. No, he's not. He's regular.
Get back in the narrative role. That's a character. That is actually a character. Like, yeah. Gotta spice it up, yeah.
Aye, Sergeant. No, we're just going regular. Aye, Sergeant.
They did this, they did that, they went to the place. It was a time. That's brought about... thought about. He brought about his early deployment by joining the Space Corps.
Chapter 2, a little bit more dramatic, just a different option.
That's thought about his earlier deployment that was 6 months long. Then turns his attention to... I went back to read it again and did worse. The group all said aye and stood up. They dropped their trays in the scullery, then walked through the passageway out to the hangar. Out through the hangar to the smoke deck. I've done this on ship. I know it to walk it hundreds and hundreds of times. All
right, well, I'll be down to check on them in a bit. All right. God, I can't get this down. Ugh.
The group all said aye and stood up. They dropped their trays in the scullery, then walked... Sometimes these sentences be that way, though, huh? All right. How many of these can make it into the outtakes? Depends. How long do you want the chapter to be? Sometimes I just hate the way I say things.
Fuckers. Remember when...
Oh, good. Yeah, cut that out. Yeah, okay.
We'll find out when
Doesn't make any sense if that's a new paragraph then, Trip. Thatch rolling his eyes should have been on the same line as Stockton shot back. I'll fight you on the... Oh, okay, all right, stylistic choice. It ruins... It makes your Hemingway bullshit even bullshittier. All right, fine. Well, now I would have known it was Stockton. Big paragraph! Their boots rose to the bottom of the calves. Inside the sole was a thin magnet designed to hold them in... my God. I'm so sorry. However, the lens... Really dumb sounding, however. Holy shit. All right, survived the super paragraph. Be as annoyed as I was when it happened to me. Gotcha, yeah. The Earth and Luna stoon.
Would you like some stoon? All of it, yes, please, sir. I'd like some more.
I eat my stoon with a stoon. All right.